Hello and welcome back. This is video number 7, and we're going to dive right in and talk about setting up your autoresponder series. So once you create a list, you need to set up an autoresponder within GetResponse. Now, understanding how an autoresponder works is actually more important than understanding the technical parts. The technical is actually very easy. Understanding how an autoresponder works is crucial because then it doesn't matter if you're using GetResponse or any other service. This can actually cross different platforms, as long as you understand the concepts. Now, an autoresponder allows you to choose when you email your subscribers, the time zone, all of that. Now, a very common question that we have seen is, when should you email your subscribers? Or even how many times should you email your list? And while I can't give you an exact answer, I can say that it really depends on your audience. If you've done the proper demographic research and you understand somebody's typical day and all of that, then understanding when is the best time to email them is actually quite easy. Now, the beauty of GetResponse is that you can set it up to email them following the same time that they signed up, meaning you can catch them at the best time that they signed up. So let's say, for example, that one of your subscribers signed up on Wednesday at 3 p.m. What GetResponse will do is it'll actually detect that, and you could set that within your email autoresponder system and say, okay, email them every day at 3 p.m. or every week on Wednesday, 3 p.m. Now, you don't have to do that. You can actually set it up differently. You can set it up so that they receive an email every day, every other day, or once a day, and then you skip 2 days, and then you go 3 days. Or you can even set it up so that you only email them during Monday through Friday and you skip Sunday and Saturday. Now, the only time that you would want to do that is, let's say, for example, that you're a local business or you know that your audience is not going to be available during Saturday and Sunday. So that's why it's crucial to understand when your prospect is actually near the email, they're near their desktop, they're awake, they're not working, and all of that. And like I said, you can email them based on time zone, which is great if you are reaching people globally. That said, what we have found though across the board in different niches is that we found that 10 a.m. or even 10:30 a.m. is to be the best time to email. What we found is weekends are also awful. And they're very awfully low in open rates, but they tend to be higher in quality click rates, meaning out of 1,000 people, you may normally get 400 people to open your emails during the week, but maybe during the weekend, you might only get 300. But out of those 300 people opening that email, they might click through at a higher rate. We can't give you a definite answer with that as well, because different niches are different. Another thing we found is that Mondays tend to be low, and that typically is because people are coming off the weekend, they're tired, and they a lot of times don't really want to check their email. They have to check their email, but they may not really want to check their email, or they're catching up on things and they're really, really busy. But we found that often Tuesdays or Thursdays tend to have higher open rates. Now, if you want, you can go to Google and type in the best time to email your audience in a specific niche, and you might actually get that data. Because a lot of the email autoresponder services out there will actually collect this data and provide that to you. Like I said, at the end of the day, you don't really know. Unless you really know your audience and you know what their typical day looks like, out of 1,000 people, the majority of people, they wake up, they go to work, they come back. Maybe during lunchtime, they are actually near the computer at 12 p.m. or even 11:30 p.m. You know that. And you know that they come back home. The best time to reach them maybe 7:30 or 8 p.m. during their time. So that's why understanding their typical day and what that looks like is so crucial. So now that I've covered some basics here, let's jump right in, go to GetResponse, and I'm going to show you how to set up an autoresponder series using the GetResponse system. So there are two different ways to create an autoresponder series. You can either go under email marketing and straight to autoresponders, or you can go the roundabout way if you're at the contact list section and go under contact lists, go where we showed you earlier and select show autoresponders. But if you select that, you're essentially going to be sent over here. So it's just easier to go here. But I wanted to show you that just in case you have a better idea on how to navigate GetResponse. So now that we're here, we can click create new, and we're going to create a new autoresponder. So this was the new tests list 1. And we could call this like survival meal. So this is obviously for you and you alone. Now on the list, we have to connect the autoresponder to the list. So we have to select this and then find the list, which is the new list 1. So we're going to click this. And as you can see here, I went ahead and selected that. So you need to connect that too, otherwise it's not going to work. Now right here, this tells you when do you want the first message to be received. So after they confirm that they are indeed real and genuine, then the next thing is when do you want them to receive the email? Now, it's my recommendation that you immediately send them an email. So I would put day 0. And while that doesn't really make sense because it should be day 1, that's how most autoresponders are set up. So day 0 really means 1, immediately. Day 1 usually means the next day, 24 hours after that. So that's that. You can send the message immediately with delay of. So if you select that, you could say, well, I want them to receive it maybe a couple hours later. So the way and the reason why you would need to do that is, let's say, for example, that you're a consultant and you get people signing up on your forms and you say to them like, okay, if once you sign up, we'll look through your details, and if you're legit, we'll start sending you emails, kind of deal. Or if it's a local business, you could specify that I only want to email on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We'll negate Saturday and Sunday. You could do that as well. So you could send immediately on these days and skip out on Saturday and Sunday. Now, if you're selling info products or software or anything that relies on emailing 24/7 and you don't really want to remove a certain day, you want to make sure that all the checkboxes are chosen. So now what we need to do is we can create the first email. So I'm actually going to dive further into this into the next video, but all you have to do is click create new email, and I'll create the first email here, and then we'll show you how to create the other emails in the future videos. But the message name is the name that will appear in the list of your messages. It's not going to be seen from your subscriber's point of view, but it's just there so that you know what that email is. So if we say survival kits email 1, and that's just for us, the subject, of course, will be different. That's something that your subscribers will see. So you definitely don't want to put the message name. So we could say something like welcome to survival. And then when you're done, you click on next. Now I don't want to cover too much because we're going to actually show you that in the next video. Hello and welcome to video number 8. And in this video, we're going to talk about setting up your emails. So now that you understand how autoresponder systems work and how to set them up, it's time to set up your emails so that we can fill in the autoresponder series and then connect them to your email list. And we'll make sure that you understand everything from start to finish. So let's jump right in. Okay, so I'm starting off where I left off in the previous video. Of course, message name, like I said earlier, is the name for you and you alone. Your subscribers are not going to see this. And of course, subject line is going to be the title or whatever shows up in the person's email box before they click. So you definitely want to make sure that they know that this is coming from you. So if they signed up for, let's say, survival meal kits, then you need to do that. Or if they signed up for the top 5 ways to make meal kits. So you could say, here's your top 5 survival. So you want to make it short and sweet, but to the point. And if you can think of less words to fit what you're trying to do, that's actually even better. So once you're done, you can actually personalize this as well. So we can say first name, here's your top 5 survival guide. And you can add symbols as well. One thing that we've tested and we found that works really well is emojis or symbols, like so. A lot of emails, you'll notice they don't have a lot of emojis or symbols. So if you can add them, that will actually get people's attention. Now, you don't want to do it too much and overdo it, but that's there if you need it. And then we'll click on next step. Now, it's at this point you can decide what you want to do next. You can either choose pre-designed templates and make it pretty, or you can simply go straight to plain text, which basically means there is not really going to be any graphics or anything. It's just going to be plain with links. Or you could do HTML editor. So it's really up to you. If you're just starting out, I would highly recommend that you choose one of these templates because they look really nice. And unfortunately, people do judge you by what they receive. Now, it really depends on your audience. If they really just want the content and they want the report. Now, keep in mind that if you are trying to track if somebody actually opened the email or not, you definitely need to use the HTML code editor. The plain text editor doesn't really track that information, but what it does track is if somebody clicks on your link. Because what happens with the HTML code, they'll insert like an image, and if somebody opens like their email on their phone, it'll load that image and it'll trigger the stats to let you know that, oh, this person actually opened their emails. So that's just something to think about when you get started, because if you only do plain text emails, and you do a search on how many people actually opened your email and read it, the data is not really going to be there. All right. So that's why that is important. So let's say, for example, that we're going to go through here. So we got creative agencies, arts, education, financial services, online marketing. So since we're dealing with food in this case, we could select something like this. Now, one thing that I have noticed with a lot of email service providers is that if you insert way too many images, that can actually impact you negatively. Because if you think about a lot of spam email, they tend to contain a lot of images and very few words. So you definitely want to keep a balance of words and images. And you also want to think about, is this going to look right in somebody's email inbox if they're using a mobile device or if they're using a Mac? And there's many different types of resolutions, PC, Macs, mobile devices, tablets, and all of that. So selecting a template is actually very easy. You just point and click and you can get it done. For the sake of simplicity, I'm going to choose HTML code editor. Now, this might look a little bit daunting, but it really is not. If you click on show WYSIWYG, WYSIWYG is what you see is what you get. And what that means is it's an editor, and what you see is literally what you get. And it's kind of like a Microsoft Word processor. You could say, hey, and you personalize this. So you can do first name. Now, this is only going to work if you are actually accepting their first name and last name on your form. If you're only accepting their email address and you put this here, it'll actually say, hey, friend, or even hey, NA. And you don't want that, the NA part. So if you're not doing that, just say hey. But this personalized button here allows you to personalize your email. So you can do first name, last name, email. You can do country. You can do all sorts of different variables, phone number, and all that. And like I said, they're only going to work if you've collected that data, because if you haven't, it's not going to work. So a typical welcome email will say, hey, so-and-so, thank you for signing up. Here is the free report or software or ebook or checklist. Now, if you're following what we talked about earlier with just the emails, you can say, thank you for signing up. Here's the top number 1 or top number 4 way to create your own survival meal kit. So you can enter that information down below here, or you can include a link. So if you were to include a link, let's just use Google for example. So http://www.google.com. So you could do that like that, and you can link it, or you can say, click here. You can highlight that, and then of course you see this little chain. The chain is a link. So if you think about chain link, that's where it came from. So we can copy that here. You can say open this in a new window. So if somebody clicks it, then it's going to open in a brand new window. If you don't have these elements, then what's going to happen is when they click the email, they are going to be forwarded directly to wherever you're sending them. So you could say, here's the top number way, click here, your name, and then you can say PS. By the way, tomorrow I'm going to send you the number 3 way to do blah, blah, blah. So like I'm saying, you don't really need to obviously survival meal kit, but you can use it for any niche. But as long as you connect it and tell them in advance, like, hey, there is something coming, then they're going to be excited about it and they're going to look for your email. A lot of times the reason why emails don't get opened up is because people are not looking for your email. They're just shocked and surprised. But if they're aware that it's coming, then they're more likely to be ready to open the emails. And that's why you get higher open rates because of that. Now, one thing I will say is what's nice about GetResponse is down here, when you're done, under test message, you can click inbox preview. And what that will do is it'll show you what it looks like in people's inboxes. So if it doesn't look right, you can always change it around. Now, the spam score allows you to see what your score might be. And in other words, how will your emails get to the inbox, or will it go through to the spam folder? Now, the nice thing about GetResponse is it tells you what you need to do. Now, this isn't really something that you can touch, but these here, HTML right here, there's no HTML tag. So because there's no HTML tag, I got a negative 0.6. So how do we bring that lower? Well, I'm going to show you. If you click on hide WYSIWYG, you're going to see HTML code. Now, don't make this scare you in any way. I'm going to show you how. So if we zoom in here, if we type in bracket, open bracket, close bracket, HTML, open bracket, close bracket, body, all right, and then we go to the very end, go to the very end here. So it's going to look like this. It's going to close, but instead of HTML and then body, it's going to be body and then HTML. So we type body, open bracket, close bracket, HTML. And then the thing that you need to do with the ending tag is a slash. The slash is saying, hey, this is ending, and there. So we've got HTML body, body HTML. You don't need to know what HTML is. You just need to follow that, add those tags to the before and after, and there you go. So as long as it's not like 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5, you're good. And that's how to do it. So click next step. And then we look at the autoresponder. Everything looks good. And we can click save and publish. And one thing you could do is up at the top here, when you click this here, you can select the list, which is new test list. And it's going to show you all the email autoresponders in here. So these are all the emails. So if you have a second email, we can add a new one and we can tell it when to send it. So as you can see here, this email is being sent and status is on. Send immediately any day of the week. So if we click on create new and we, let's say, for example, create a new email, and then we can name it. So we'll do survival email 2. And on day 1. So now if you want to do it every day, you can. So you can create a new email and then a new email, and it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then 6. But if you want it on, let's say, every other day, so we emailed out on the 0 day, we're going to skip the day 1, and day 2 is when we're going to email out. So it's going to be every other day. And the reason why you wouldn't want to do that is because you want to give people the ability to absorb the information. But if it's really short straight to the point pieces of content, I wouldn't do every other day. I would just go ahead and start emailing them every single day. So I would do that, do the same process, create a new email, subject line, message name, do the same thing I showed you, and then you'll click save and publish and you're good to go.